go high level here, my friends. I try to, I don't know, sometimes you sit in front of this thing and you try to give people deliverables and make things actionable day after day. Yet I think if we do that day after day, we lose context of the why. And probably the last 3 or 4 weeks have been a lot on the why. And I'm going back there today because my reading this morning really started to bring stuff together around this arrive, pay, and stay, the patient's journey, where they are in their journey. Well, that stuff really started to come together this morning. And so maybe not so much actionable, but yet I would call it a required mindset shift or a required shift so that the actionable stuff I give you actually delivers the result that it should. Did you catch all that? If you understand the why of what you're doing, then the actionables will be far more successful. The other thing I really want to bring in today is this whole idea of you control the process, not the outcomes. And it's this word outcomes that I want to go into. All right. We talk about a journey. Well, a journey is the process, right? And I was reading this morning, and really it's not a healthcare book, which I love. It's just talking about managing customers, managing clients, right? It's interesting because it talked about focusing less on the outcome and more on their progress. And man, that hit me hard because I was like, that's us. Then I went, that's us, healthcare, by the way, healthcare providers, healthcare business owners, not understanding a process and only trying to deliver an outcome. So we get someone in the room with us on a Val Day, we ask them their goals, and that becomes the outcome. And you say, well, okay, we're going to work together for about 8 weeks. And you speak real general. We're going to do some strengthening, some hands-on work, and we'll see how it's going along the way. And I'm like, their lack of achieving that outcome is because of that conversation right there, is because your mindset in that moment in time. I've been beating a lot of people, my clients, probably on my podcast and YouTube stuff, about it's the next step, my friends. What people want to know is, what is the next step in this journey I'm on? That means this is you understanding the process. This is why patient success comes through a team approach, because no provider can do this all during an evaluation. And here's the other thing. No provider has to do all this during an evaluation. No provider has to deliver. This is the other big take home here for your team. No provider during the evaluation has to deliver a completed, full, mapped out plan of care. Just like looking at the map is not your journey. You can look at a map and say, we want to go from LA to New York. We're going to take this route, Jerry. We're going to drive through these places so I can see it. I see the destination, boom. Now I see the route. Now I see all these stops and all these places. I see the mountains. I ask you, how will their weather be? And you say, this is why we're taking this route this time of year. Or I show you, this is why it's going to be a bumpy ride. But in no way, shape, or form am I filling out each visit and each stop. That's what we do along the way. That's what we do during the planning. There's no better analogy than this. That's the process to get from Los Angeles to New York City. It's the map. It's a picture of the journey. It's looking at the journey. But again, in no way, shape, or form does that whole journey have to be explained today. What do we need to do? We need to get to the next stop, and then the next stop, and then the next stop. And by the way, right? We've all done it, longer journeys where we don't stop, but that's part of the process. We figure out how we're going to manage this without stopping. That's the process. That's where we lose, my friends. That's where we lose our drop-offs. That's where we lose our no-shows. That's where we lose our cancels. Because we don't do a good enough job focusing on the journey, because we're only looking at the outcome. And if we understand the journey, you guys have heard this from the business side. So, right, I'm talking clinical right now too. I'm talking to you as a physio. But yet, if we understand the plan of care is a journey to be mapped out like this, then we understand their whole journey within our business needs to be mapped out with this part in it. We also then understand how the rest of the team becomes so valuable in the information they collect to set what? The provider up for success on arrival to check 3 or 4 boxes because they are the next step. Yeah, I'm going to go fucking crazy on this shit. And I'm going crazy right now on it because this is where we're missing, my friends. I've always talked about this journey and understanding the process. And what I didn't realize, right? This goes back into clinical care too. I reached out to one of my colleagues this morning that I really respect because I believe we focus too much on outcomes and self-efficacy. We don't understand the process. So how the fuck can we focus on the end result? But yet we know that we can't determine the end result. We're part of this journey. We're a step in this journey. We're going to show this person this part of the journey they're on with me. I'm going to come alongside of you. And this is what we're going to do next visit. And what I'm going to do at the beginning of that visit is measure these 3 things and ask you these 2 questions. Then when you show up for that visit, I do that. And I show you your progress or lack thereof. And then we do some things. And then I remind you at the end of that visit about the next step. I remind you what we're going to work on. This is the rules of engagement I put together for people. I don't tell clinicians how to treat. I tell them how to understand and own the process. I don't tell them what treatments to do. I don't tell them how to bill. This is how you manage your person through their clinical journey. So yes, and this is where I almost said expertise. Whew. This is where my journey of being a physio, then being a business owner, then being a clinic owner, then answering the front, right? Then working the front desk, answering the calls, right? Working in the back office, working in collections, calling all my drop-offs. Why'd you drop off? They were on a journey with us. They didn't achieve the outcome. 99% of you blow that off. I'm like, we need that info. Why'd you dive out of the journey? Oh, our NPS scores are 99 and look at our outcomes we get. I'm like, what happened to people who dropped off? They fill out an NPS? No. Did you get their outcome measure? No, you couldn't. So our data is so skewed and so biased. So this is again where right? So I understand we got to manage someone on their journey through the whole thing, not just the clinical part. By the way, what happens when someone schedules and then drops off before arrival, right? That's owned by the front desk. That's an issue. That's a problem. Something happened there. What happens when they drop off during their clinical care? I don't know. We have to measure it. That's how you are going to create a more successful business. That's how you are going to create more patient success. That's how you are going to create more employee and people success. That is how you are going to create a culture that facilitates less burnout, a culture that people want to work in. Here's the other thing, that will create a culture that can bonus and reward all employees. My friends, this is the solution, a solution, the solution. I'm going to go with the solution. You must own this big journey, and then you break down the parts of the journey. But we must do these same things, and we must understand how when we put someone in their clinical journey, it is no fucking different. It's just another step, my friends. We have experts at every step of their journey, the front desk, right? Or sorry, the voice of the company, the face of the company, the provider, the billing. These are all experts who all play, get ready, an equal role in patient success because it's part of the process. By the way, if you don't think the whole team plays a role in patient success, pull up reviews, pull up business reviews, pull up PT business reviews. People will write these long, scathing reviews, and you have no idea if they got better or not. These are my favorite. People write awesome reviews, and you have no idea if they got better or not. So if you don't think this is equally important, then you're sadly mistaken. And besides the fact, expectations, all this stuff correlates with outcomes. So people reading something about you, telling you that's what they expect, you assure them that's what they'll get. They get that when they arrive. They also get an expert that tells them their problem and shows them and takes them along their journey towards their desired outcome, defining the process and making sure they understand the process every step of the way is patient success. Did they get better, Jerry? I don't know. Yet I will argue more people will get better. But we can't just focus on that. Healthcare in America has proven that over and over. So if we're going to be evidence-based, let's move outside of the clinical space, look at the evidence outside of the, right? Expectations, trust, alliance, right? Conversations, communications, outside of just treatments and techniques, right? And managing people from here up. That's what cracks me up, man. People are like, what part of PT, what we lack most in our PT education? What'd you lack most in, this journey in healthcare? I'm like, understanding people from the neck up, my friends. Communication, motivation, expectations, beliefs, trust, biases, understanding their journey that they're on, all of it, man. So I'm here to tell you, we've got to get away from this outcome focus. We got to get away from creating all this independence, because that will be a result down the road. But we've got to start focusing on their journey and progress on their journey and what happens on the next step and what happens on the next step. And if you want, I will come to your office. By the way, I'm doing this. I am calling and scheduling as a new patient. Then I'm showing up and going through the evaluation. And I'm going to tell you right now, my friends, the majority of people are lost in there. Talked to someone, I think I brought this up the other day. I talked to someone recently. They shared with me one of the largest, by the way, not the largest, so it's probably not even one you're thinking about, to be honest, because when they told me the name, I recognized it, but I wouldn't have said it. One of the largest groups in America, their top revenue stream is one and done patients. People who arrive for an eval and then don't show up for any further visits. Just to prove what I was going to say, which is we lose the bulk of people, the people we can help, the people who need our help, the people who called and asked for our help, the people that are willing to commit their time, money, and energy to us if we earn it and understand where they are on their journey and help them better to understand what is the next step, and the next step, the process, their journey. What does progress look like? And when I'm not making progress, what does that look like? That's the only conversation we need to have on eval day. I will guarantee you with 100% certainty, this business is not doing any of that. They're just moving people through, and it's that real general, well, we're going to see if we got you scheduled out, right? This is what else I love, when the front desk schedules people for like 8 visits before they even meet their expert. All they want to know is their next step, and you just confuse the fuck out of them, and you created more fear, doubt, and uncertainty around that. Yes, there are strategies to get people on the schedule for more than one visit, but nobody's doing it. How do I know that? My secret callers. These are solutions, my friends. These are solutions to patient problems, to business problems, to your people, employee problems. All this flows downhill. And we must focus on the patient. I'm not going to argue with people about I put employees first. I'm like, it's a virtuous cycle. You have to start with understanding who you serve. That's day one. That's the chicken and the egg argument. After that, yeah, you can tell me you focus on your employees, but you can't focus on employees without knowing who you serve. So we create this virtuous cycle, right? Because any great run company, they focus on their employees, who focus on the patient, the customers, who focus on, right? And it's just this virtuous cycle. So it's impossible. I'm like, right? You got you market and you advertise and you sell to the right people who come in and interact with your team that was hired to interact with those people. I'm like, that's a nice little virtuous cycle. That's no who came first argument. All right. So again, this is a solution. You got to start from this mindset. You got to start investing your time, money, and energy on this exactly. This is how you get rid of cancels. This is how you get rid of no-shows. This is how you get rid of drop-offs. This is how you increase first visit arrival. This is how you improve your culture. This is how you decrease churn and burn of your employees. This is how you decrease burnout. This is how you increase revenue, top line and bottom line. There's nothing that can't be solved by this. You don't need more leadership training. You don't need more billing training. You don't need more coding training, right? You got to understand your client's journey within your business and get everybody keyed into the journey, the process from start to finish. And you've got to understand everybody's role, and you've got to continue. So the same mindset of a PT in an evaluation is the same exact way I train the front desk team on the first phone call. The 3 most important steps in a patient's journey in your business: first phone call, evaluation, course of care. They all have to be managed in the same exact way for every patient coming through. And where does it all start? Upstream, right? At that front desk. This, you should get to the end of this and go, this is what he fucking talks about every day. And you're right. Trying to bring it all together for you, because this is the only way you're going to be successful. Start training your front desk team tomorrow without this mindset. It's all going to go by the wayside. Start training your providers on how to do an evaluation without the work upstream, without them knowing what each other is doing. You will not be successful. Waste your time, money, and energy. Put up a sign that says you deliver quality care. Cheers. It's weird. That's such a big fucking tell. Anybody puts quality care anywhere on their website or on their signage, I'm like, what a tell. Just define it. Just define it. Tell people what quality care is in your business along the lines of who you can serve, right? That's how we get people in the clinic that your employees are happy to work with, and vice versa. You guys hear this going around and around. You control the process, not the outcome. That includes their outcomes. That includes their desired outcomes. That includes self-efficacy. That includes all of it. Focus on their journey, Take care of them on their journey. The outcome will deliver itself. The self-efficacy will deliver itself. Woo. Cheers all.